up, fantasy fans? So today I'm going to bring you a list of top 10 resilient women in fantasy. These are fictional women that inspire me, and they're just awesome, resilient characters. So here's the list. All right, so I'm going to start off the list with an honorable mention, and this is going to be Crystalwood from The Five Warrior Angels by Brian Lee Durfee. Before she disappeared into the black forest of prisoners, Krista saw Hans look up from his work and throw her a coy, curling little smile. Red butterflies still danced in the air, and somewhere in the distance came the lone shriek of a crow. Krista Albrecht would walk among the dead soon, the dead of her own creation, and with her new name, Crystalwood. This was so close to being my number 10 spot, and I will say she is my favorite female character of the series. She's my favorite character. I don't know. Liz Hen's up there, but in terms of perspective character, I'd have to say Crystalwood. Hey guys, I forgot to mention one of my favorite authors that excels at writing inspiring female characters, and that is Michael J. Sullivan. He has a ton of amazing female characters: Princess Arista, Suri, Bryn, Roan, Moya, but my number one pick has to go to Princess Fairlane from his Rise and Fall trilogy. Kyle, she stopped him. He turned. I'm sorry, she said. For the first time, he appeared at a total loss. Sorry? I don't understand. For what? This must be awful for you. This must be awful for me. I don't know what it is you did, what crimes you committed, but I can see this penance of yours is beyond horrible. I'd rather be the forest than the fire. Whether you succeed or not, allow me to add my voice to the many who must have thanked you over the centuries for what you're trying to do. Kyle stared at her, dumbfounded. He blinked, balled his hand into fists, wet his lips, then took a deep and steady breath. What? She asked. You were the first. He turned quickly and headed for the door. And Princess Fairlane's going to be my honorable mention. I completely forgot to mention Michael J. Sullivan, but Princess Fairlane definitely deserves to be on this list, probably higher than an honorable mention, but you know, I couldn't think of everybody when I was making the video, so I'm just going to add this as a more than honorable mention. And yeah, Princess Fairlane is an absolute joy to read, and she inspires me, and I still think about that character to this day, even though it was a standalone. So for my number 10 pick, I'm going to go with a character from the Red Rising saga. Now, I know a lot of fans of this series really love Mustang as a character. I like Mustang, but I don't think I enjoyed Mustang as much as the average reader. So a few characters that almost made the cut for my Red Rising character. Rona, Darrow's niece. I thought her relationship with Alexander was freaking phenomenal. I loved it. Lyria still continues to be one of the best red perspectives in the series. Volga and her relationship with Ephraim and her relationship with Lyria and her relationship with the character I'm about to name are all amazing. But my number one favorite female character from the Red Rising saga is Vicca al Julii. My son, you are of the gens Julii. Your ancestors looked to the night sky when there was nothing but drips of light in the darkness. Roads they built to stitch that light together. You are also of the gens Barca, guardians of the human race. You will be hated and you will hate. You will love and be loved. You will fall and you will rise. Never will you know peace, but you will know joy. You may even sail the dark seas in ships and lie beside nymphs in alien woods. You are your father's son, forever my boy. Forever our Ulysses. Absolute awesome character, to the point I may like her more than her husband. And Severo is everyone's favorite, but Vicca is just such an amazing character. In the earlier series, her friendship and her loyalty to Darrow. Later on in the series, where she becomes a wife and a mother and still continues to be that warrior and protects her family and her kin and her friends. You do not want to be someone standing between Vicca al Julii and her family. That she will destroy you, and I absolutely love Vicca al Julii. She inspires the hell out of me, and for her to be a number 10 pick, that just shows how stacked this list is about to be. All right, so for my number 9 pick, I'm going to go with a character from the Cosmere, and I'm going to go over some that were really high up on the list but didn't quite make it. I do not have Shallan and Yasna as my favorite, Cosmere females, but Navani from Stormlight is way up there. Navani is one of the best characters in Stormlight, end all be all. And if she had a little bit more page time, she would be the main female character from the Cosmere on this list. And she'd probably be at a much higher place on this list because I absolutely adore Navani. That is one of Sanderson's best characters. Vin is amazing. I didn't enjoy her as much as, say, a Navani or the character I'm about to name, but you cannot deny the amount of impact Vin has had on the genre and on implementing female characters into the genre. So for pure influence alone, Vin needs a mention. And then also, I didn't want to put her on this list yet because it might be recency bias. I read this like last year, but I really love Yumi from Yumi and the Nightmare Painter, and she was so close to being my favorite Cosmere girly. But I just had to go with, and this is going to piss off a ton of Cosmere fans because they're going to be like, what? Why her? I really like Marasi Combs from the Wax and Wayne series.
I have a theory that a gentlewoman should never need to resort to something so barbarous as violence to achieve her goals. Wouldn't you agree? Yes, indeed. A true gentlewoman uses the threat of violence instead. So much more civilized.
I love Waxilium Ladrian more than I liked any of the main characters from the original Mistborn series, aside from maybe Kelsier. Marasi might be my favorite character from that series. I don't know, because book 1, 2, and 3, I would have said it was Wax, and then Wayne and Marasi back and forth. By the end of the final book, by the end of the Lost Metal, I think Marasi took the cake as my favorite character from the Wax and Wayne series. And that's crazy because she's not even one of the titular characters. I also thought Steris was amazing in that series. Both those sisters were absolutely phenomenal in that series, and I do not think they get enough credit. All right, so my number 8 pick, I'm going to have to go with my 2 favorite necromantic lesbians, Gideon Nav and Harrow the Ninth. I'm not going to cheat. If I had to pick one, it'd be Harrow.
And instead you rolled a rock over me and turned your back. I spent all that time drowning and surfacing in you over and over and over, and all because in the end you could not bear to do the one thing I asked you to do. I wanted you to use me, you malign, double-crossing, corpse-obsessed bag of bones. You broken, used-up shithead. I wanted you to live and not die, you imaginary girlfriend-having asshole. Fuck one flesh, one end. Harrow, I already gave my flesh to you, and I already gave you my end. I gave you my sword, I gave you myself. I did it while knowing I'd do it all again, without hesitation, because all I ever wanted you to do was eat me.
But Gideon is right behind her. And I know most people probably prefer Gideon because she's very out of pocket, she's funny. She's just a badass. Her journey is a little bit more intriguing for me, and I really loved her title book. I liked Harrow the Ninth a little bit more than Gideon the Ninth. Harrow the Ninth is actually my favorite in the series, followed by Nona and then Gideon being last. Both these characters and the relationship they have with each other and the relationship they have with other characters like Palamity Sextus and Camilla Hecht. Camilla Hecht also deserves to be on this list. She's awesome. And just their relationship with many of the different characters in this world, I thought that they are both amazing characters and both deserve to be on this list. I wish I was doing a top 20 list because both of these characters deserve to be on a top 20 list. For my number 7 pick, I wanted to go with the character from Joe Abercrombie's The First Law series, or his greater First Law world. So this includes the original First Law trilogy, The Age of Madness, and the whatever this trilogy of standalones is called, is including all of those. So the 2 that almost made the cut were Rikke from the Age of Madness trilogy, the Dogman's daughter, absolutely phenomenal character. I thought she was so intriguing to follow. And then number 2, which probably should be number 1 if we were going off of my own enjoyment, but I had to look at the longevity and how much the character has inspired other female characters in the genre, and it's a real toss-up between these 2, but Savine and Glokta, absolutely awesome and probably one of my favorite characters aside from Prince Orso in the entire First Law universe. Really enjoyed her character, but my number 1 female character from the First Law, it's got to be Monskara Mercado.
What do we leave behind but things not done, not said, not finished? Empty clothes, empty rooms, empty spaces in the ones who knew us. Mistakes never made right and hopes rotted down to nothing.
People argue that Monskara Mercado is the best main character of any book because it's so obvious Best Served Cold is her book. I think Monskara Mercado, Logan Ninefingers, and Glokta, Daddy Glokta, not Savine Dan Glokta, are the most loved Abercrombie characters. But, Comment down below who your favorite Abercrombie character is, because I'm very intrigued to see what people say. And for my number 6 is actually a very new character to me. I found her this year, and oh boy, she took me by storm. That just speaks to the quality of writing by Christopher Buehlman. I have my little broken binding copy of the book right here, but Galva from the Daughters' War.
When a member of the family first begins to hurt you, they may choose from many weapons, all sharp, all sure to draw blood. The first cuts are the worst, though every cut will hurt, no matter how well you learn to hide it.
Was an absolute joy to read, even though her story is tinged with tragedy. I thought that she was a captivating character from beginning to end, and just her voice and her resilience. This is a character that I constantly look up to, and I constantly think about the way she viewed the world and the way she kept fighting. I just thought she is a remarkably well-written character, and nothing against Kinch Nishanik. I love the Black Tongue Thief. I wish the whole series was by Galva's POV. I think Galva is Christopher Buehlman's best character out of these two books. All right, so for my number 5 pick, I'm going to go with a character from Robin Hobb's Realm of the Elderlings. Now, there were a few that were vying for that spot of my favorite Robin Hobb female character. I think one of the fan favorites is Malta Vestrit, just for her growth. I mean, this girl has a Zuko-level redemption arc. She starts off the story being just as insufferable as her bastard of a father, very much his daughter. She acts just like him, and she's so infuriating. And the way she grows and her relationship with Reyn was really captivating. The way she treats her mother and her grandmother differently after she, realizes some stuff about herself, and her redemption, I thought, was absolutely phenomenal. Another Robin Hobb character that came really close to being my number 5 spot is another Live Ship Traders character, and that is going to be Althea Vestrit. She didn't quite make the cut, but she is, my favorite character in the Live Ship series. I absolutely loved her. Wintrow's up there, but I have to give it to Althea. It really is her series, I feel. And I loved her. I loved her relationship with Brash, and I loved her resiliency and the way she overcame some of the worst things that could happen to someone and still kept fighting and still didn't let those dark things that happened to her define her. And I just think she's inspiring. But I'm going to have to go with B. Farseer. I mean, she's the child of my favorite characters ever.
B, I will always choose to believe you first. So it is your serious responsibility to be righteous in what you do. It is the pact that must exist between us.
I absolutely love Fit Chivalry Farseer. He's my favorite character in all of fiction. So, of course, his daughter was going to be on this list. And for Robin Hobb, it had to be her. And she is my favorite of Fitz's kids, to include his stepchildren, his adopted son. She's the best. I love B. Farseer. I don't want to get too spoiler into the end of the Fitz and the Fool series, but just trust me, she absolutely makes that series. I will die on this hill. B. Farseer is a phenomenal character. She can be frustrating, just like her father. She can be very frustrating, but I'll be damned if I don't absolutely love and root for that girl every step of the way. So my number 4 pick is this character is new to me. I read her last year, and she completely blew me away. I still feel like maybe she should have been number 3 and not number 4, but because number 3 might be recency bias, but number 4, Nona Gray from the Book of the Ancestor by Mark Lawrence.
But I must warn you, sister, that a sickness runs in me, and if you fashion yourself my enemy, I will make a ruin of your life, for I am born of war.
Absolute badass character. Her loyalty to her friends, and with how much she values friendship and the lengths she will go to protect her fellow sisters, is absolutely inspiring, and it makes her one of my favorite characters, not just female characters, but one of my favorite characters in all of fiction. All right, and here is where I might be making a mistake. I don't think so, but this is my guilty spot. Because number 3, I have a character that I started reading a month ago. And I've only read 2 books in this series, but Iskara Hellseen from The War Eternal by Rob J. Hayes.
At just 15 years old, I had fought in the greatest war mankind has ever known. I had been one of Oran's most powerful sorcerers, celebrated by our allies, and feared by our enemies. I helped bring prosperity to my emperor's lands, destruction to his foes, and now I was a prisoner, my power gone with my sources. There was only one place the Terralins would send a prisoner as valuable as I: the pit.
This is like the fantasy Sun Eater, by the way. I need to do another dedicated review for this series because not enough people are reading it. So in this story, you have Iskara Helsing recounting her story from her youth as she is an older character. She's recounting the story back, and it really does feel like the fantasy Sun Eater. This, to me, is the closest you can get to that series, Christopher Rocchio's masterpiece. And I currently, where I'm at, I prefer the War Eternal over Sun Eater. And I know that sounds crazy, but I think I'm only one book into Sun Eater. I'm 2 books deep into this, and it's very neck and neck. But Iskara Helsing is so similar to Nona Gray, just a little bit grimdarker, and I absolutely love her for that. This character is completely took me by storm. I think she is one of the best grimdark characters of all time, and probably, aside from maybe Fitz Chivalry Farseer, Iskara Helsing is one of my all-time favorite first-person narrators. All right, and at my number 2 spot, we're going to have a Malazan Book of the Fallen character, or well, Greater Malazan World character. And this is very difficult because Malazan is... It was intentionally created to be this world that doesn't have inherent sexist views. There's not as much gender differences. Yes, you have some cultures that do have that, like the Barghast, but the main cultures in the world do not have those gender roles that are as cut and dry as our own. So because of that, we have amazing female characters in Malazan Book of the Fallen, and it became difficult. If you know me at all, you know who the number 1 is going to be, but I'm going to go over some that were really close. If she had more books, Stillwater might... I don't think Stillwater is going to compete with the main character, the character I'm about to mention, but I do think she is off to a great start. Book 1 in the Witness trilogy, quadrology, tetralogy. She is off to a great start, and I really enjoyed her in The God Is Not Willing. Some other characters, Felisin. I absolutely adored Felisin. I know a lot of fans hate her. I enjoyed her. But my number 1 character has to be Tavor Paran.
It is not enough to wish for a better world for the children. It is not enough to shield them with ease and comfort. Lestari Yil, if we do not sacrifice our own ease, our own comfort, to make the future's world a better one, then we curse our own children. We leave them a misery they did not deserve. We leave them a host of lessons unearned.
She's my second favorite character in all of Malazan Book of the Fallen. She's in my top 5 favorite characters of all time. I absolutely adore Tavor Paran, and if it weren't for Fiddler, she would be my favorite Malazan character, and all be all. But my number 1 female character, I have a tattoo of her. I think she is so resilient, and I do think, and the fact that she was able to best all these other characters in a standalone novel just shows how talented M.L. Wong is. And my number 1 character is Misaki Matsuda from The Sword of Kaigen.
You are my story, and I was so selfish, so tied to that shadow that I missed it. And my son, I'm so sorry it took me this long to understand. I'm sorry. The words caught in her throat, choking her until pain shot through her chest, forcing her to let them out. I never loved you the way I should have.
Absolutely phenomenal character. She is the matriarch of the Matsuda family, and when war comes to her shores, she will do whatever it takes to protect her family. Even after her husband has put her down and made her feel lesser, she will not let harm come to her boys. She will fight for her friends, for her family, for herself, and she is just an absolute beacon of inspiration and a marvelous character. And so that's 10 female characters that inspire me because it's now International Women's History Month or something along those lines. And these are just female characters in fantasy fiction, because that's what I love, that just completely wowed me and inspired me. And, I do want to make a list this month doing my top 10 comic/manga female characters, but I tried including some in this list, and I was like, you know what? There's too many of them. It's got to be its own separate list. So, tell me who some of your female characters are in the comment section down below. If you want to, subscribe. If you don't want to, that's fine. I appreciate you watching. Peace.